Hello, Patreon people. This is the first time I'm doing an exclusive podcast. And so we're going to see how this goes. Before we get started, though, I want to give you guys a little treat. Clark, come here, Bubba. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here, Bubba. We got to get a little Clark love. My little anxious one with eye boogers. Hello? Hello? How are you doing today? He's like, I was eating, Dad. I know. Go back to eating. Um, so I wasn't sure what exactly I was going to talk about, and then yesterday happened, and it really struck a chord with a lot of people. And I think because when a lot of people look at me, they don't see someone that has body image issues. Um, they don't think that I would understand or that I would go through what other people go through. I will admit that comparatively speaking to majority of the planet, I am in good shape. I'm healthy, but I'm not comparing myself to other people on the planet. I'm comparing myself to previous versions of myself. And I think that's where a lot of us struggle is because we remember what we had and instead of just enjoying what we have. And this seemed to really strike a chord with a lot of people. So what kind of set this whole thing up is I realized I hadn't posted. I used to post every day on Instagram. And for a while, I think I posted like twice in a month, which one is not good for business. But two, I was wondering why, because I used to really enjoy posting on Instagram. And I found that it was because I wasn't proud of the way that I look. I'm not. And that negative speak in my brain really just kind of took over and shut everything down. I stopped buying new clothes. I get invited to go places and I don't go because of how I feel about myself. And I know I'm not the only one that is going through this. So I went clothing shopping with my friend Grace, and she used to own a clothing store, does personal shopping. She was geeking out. But I found as time went on, I got more and more and more anxious and irritable and tired. And it's not something I had really ever experienced before. So I was trying to think about what it was. Like, what is it? Well, let's be very clear. I am not someone who has ever really enjoyed shopping. Not my thing. But I do like getting new clothes. So every once in a while, I'll trudge out. And you know how some people, when they go clothes shopping, they're more like a carpet bomb. They just kind of like canvas everything. Well, I'm like one of those laser guided missiles. I know what I'm in there for. I'm going to scan, find what I want, pick it out, maybe try it on, and then leave. And so I found that going with someone who really enjoys shopping, it kept me there for a lot longer than I normally would. And I thought maybe it was just the fact that I don't like shopping, but more so, I didn't like what I saw in the mirror that really stopped me from even enjoying what was happening. Now, that being said, I love my snazzy new clothes, but that toxic inner speak, man, it really gets you. I mean, like, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, look at that belly. You used to be so much more muscular. Used to be. And I'll ask you this question. Do you find yourself focusing so much on what you don't have instead of what you do? I think it's so much easier to like look forward or look back because it's not happening and we don't have to acknowledge it in that moment. But if you look at what is and address what is, but also learn to embrace what is, I feel like life gets better. It's interesting. Before I started to do well with Twitch, I never really made a whole lot of money on YouTube because of the types of subjects that I would cover. Advertisers were really, really afraid of anyone talking about social issues. And so I never really like worried about making a bunch of money. I just wanted to make enough money to survive. And when I started making decent money on Twitch, I found that I actually became more tense and more nervous about losing what I had, or like making sure that I put money away for things in the future. And yes, you want to do those things, but you don't live in the future and you don't live in the past, you live in the now. So one of the things that I did when I was in, not when I was in the dressing room, that was just a whole mess that I wasn't going to be able to really escape from. But one of the things that I did the other day to kind of stop the negative speak was get into meditation. And people think, and I was one of them, like meditation, it's this like hoity-toity, frou-frou stuff. Like there's no science behind it. But I found some people that I could emulate, that I found did have like a no BS way of going around meditation. I thought of meditation, you just close your eyes and breathe. And while that's an aspect of it, your mind is what drifts the most. Your mind is what you need to work on keeping central the most. And I found that when I was doing this meditation, this was like one time in particular recently, when I was doing this meditation, my mind was drifting, and it was drifting into a super, super negative space. I'm like, why are we so mean to ourselves? And so the no BS thing when it came to meditation was basically breathe, and when your mind wanders, bring it back to the breath. I think too often people are like, I failed. I suck at this. Of course you're going to suck. Wait, does this button work? Of course you're going to suck. Like in the beginning, if you were just amazing at everything when you started, you wouldn't appreciate it. So being patient with yourself, that's one thing I learned. But when my mind would drift, I found that it would drift to some like awful and like negative spaces. And I found also that just thinking about my breath didn't stop that voice from happening. So I combined another thing with the bringing it back to the breath, and that was affirmations. And I was doing affirmations in the mirror for myself to kind of bring me to a good place. And I felt like a crazy person, because I'd be like, hey, you're beautiful and I love you and you're enough. I'm talking to myself currently. And I felt crazy, but sometimes crazy works, and it did. So when I was doing the meditation and my mind would go to these negative spaces, I would sit and affirm myself that I was going to be okay, that I was worthy of love, that hey, just come back, let's breathe together, like everything's going to be okay. And not only did I find that actually worked on this negative speak that I have in my mind, at the end, I had a good cry, which could be a whole other podcast, because especially as a man, I even hear women say this, that crying is weakness, but I feel nothing but strong at the end of a good cry. See, I even fight that thing in my mind. It's like, you sound ridiculous. Oh, I feel good at the end of a good cry. Shut up. But I need to stop doing that. But I think that we all do it. And I was wondering if it was something that you guys identified with. But man, looking at yourself in the mirror over and over again, taking off your clothes over and over again, acknowledging what you look like, embracing the fact that as you get older, your body is going to change. You know, I have to work 10 times as hard to look like I did when I didn't try at all. But is that the most important thing? I think with the age that I am, I'm 37 now. When I started this YouTube journey, I was 24 years old. I started posting on social media when I was 19. So I had this time capsule for the last 17, don't make me do math, 17 years of my life? 21? I don't know. You know what I'm saying. I have this time capsule where I could see where I was. And what's interesting is even back then, I was like not that nice to myself. But now I look at me back then and I'm like, oh, hey, I was looking pretty good. So it's all perspective. But I was wondering, and I want to bring this to you guys. What do you guys do to stop yourself from self-sabotage? What do you guys do to stop the negative speak in your mind from happening so that you can be the successful person that you want to be in your mind? Because I feel like we are the cruelest to ourselves, and it's really got to stop. I have to stop. I have to take my own damn advice. What are you going to do? But yeah, I wondered if you guys go through this sort of thing, and let me know. Now, something else I want to talk to you guys about is kind of updating you on things that are going on. I mean, the whole purpose of making my Patreon was to fund the podcast. And I know that I have not been the best at doing these rewards. And that is something that is drastically going to change because it's just not fair. Like, some of you guys have supported me for so long, and I've been slacking on these perks because you believe in what I'm doing. And without that, I wouldn't, like, that's my logo on a glow sign back there. You know, I have a whole set behind me. My parents are going to be on my podcast tomorrow, which is really exciting. But I I have built out a set. I have this computer set up here, which is wonderful. I have a secondary computer setup, which I'm going to be driving to TwitchCon, which is at the end of September, and along the way, doing podcasts because I have my mobile setup, and that's really exciting because I just want to find the amazing, impactful stories, and you guys have made that happen. You guys have, for years, stuck with me, and I'm so grateful for it. So it's happening. The podcast is out. If you guys didn't know, it's on Spotify, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. It's called Unfiltered Friends. Within the next few days, I should be uploading an episode where I interviewed a guy who was actually at Pulse nightclub when the shooting happened. So for any of you who tuned in live to that was like super impactful. But yeah, really exciting stuff. It is really exciting stuff. And I hope you guys enjoy these extra talks. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down below. And I look forward to talking to you guys on the next one. Thank you.